today we are focusing on popularism, political popularism. What is it? How does that factor into the spectrum of governance? And what is the impact it has on governance itself? Most importantly, students, what is the meaning of political popularism? When you hear that term out there, what comes to mind? What does it mean? And how does it factor into the equation? So that's what we're going to be looking at today, students, to begin to understand this term and how it's instrumental in the grand scheme of things. Let's begin with definition. Political popularism, so let's highlight this. Political popularism, it's a political approach, a way of doing things, right? That's what it means. A way of doing things that seeks to represent the interest. Now, take note of this, students. The interest, that's one. Let's put that here as one. And concerns, right? Let's put that here as two. So political popularism is an approach, it's a way that seeks to represent the interests and concerns of who? Ordinary people. Please take note, that's number 3. Right, so 3 things happening here: interest, concerns, right? Interest, concerns of ordinary people in society, often contrasting them against the elite of the establishment. Please take note of this, right? So here we are talking about ordinary people versus elite, right? Contrasting them with the elite of society. Political popularism is an approach that seeks to represent the interests and concerns of ordinary citizens. Now, why is that important? Why is that important in the grand scheme of things? It's important for a number of reasons. One, the interest of the ordinary people must be protected because they don't have power in the sense, although they have political power because they're the ones that vote, but the elite has more power than them economically and politically, etc. And the elite can unleash that power on the ordinary people if there's no protection. Very, very critical point here, right? So it's a process that seeks to represent the interests and concerns of ordinary people and contrasting that with the elite. Okay? All right, let's take note of this point. It typically involves a charismatic leader, right, or a movement that claims to give voice to the common people, not the same thing as ordinary people. These just the regular citizens that keep the economy going, keep the country going, etc. These are the common people that we're talking about, and often emphasizes themes of social justice, anti-corruption, nationalism, etc., etc. So let's pause and take a look at this a bit more closely. Political popularism, it's a political approach that seeks to represent the interests and concerns of ordinary people, often contrasting those interests and concerns against the elite of the establishment. It typically involves a charismatic leader, right? So somebody that is charismatic enough to articulate those interests we're talking about and those concerns of the ordinary people in a way that will get attention of the government and of the elite, or movement that claims to give voice, right? So here is advocacy. So let's put that here. Advocacy, agency is also very important. Agency is power, right? Agency in this case is power. Advocacy, agency, right? Very, very key points here to the common people, and often emphasizes themes of social justice. Why? Because they've been discriminated against. There have been all kinds of injustices against the common people that are brought about every single day by the elite, and in some cases the government as well. Addressing those social justice issues, anti-corruption issues that are often against the common people who get the short end of the bargain, etc. And nationalism. So there are many characteristics when we talk about popularism, political popularism, many characteristics. We're going to highlight 4 of those characteristics right now. And the first one is anti-establishment sentiments, right? So when we talk about popularism, there is the anti-establishment sentiment. What does that mean? Establishment means the government, means the people that have been there for a long time, the people that make the decisions, the people that have the say in government and in the lives of the common people, those are called the establishment, right? So here then, popularism, we are saying, is anti-establishment. It usually has those sentiments. It says they're popularism, it says they're populist, right? So let's put that here. So populists, those who are, right, those who follow the concept and idea of popularism are called populists. And the populists often position themselves against the political elite. They are against, right, the political, please take note of this, elite. They're against the political elite, right, and claiming that they represent the will of the people. So they are saying that they represent the common citizens, right? They say citizens. The common citizens, same thing as the common people, same thing as the ordinary people, right? Against the elite. Why is that? Because the elite is seen as those that are oppress the common people, that will go against the interest of the common people for their own interest. For their own interest. They will use the common people to achieve their own interest, right? The elite, oftentimes, because the elite, they own the factories, they own the economy, essentially, right? They have the means and the resources, and they are in power, economic power, political power, etc. And oftentimes, they get those resources at the expense of the common people. So popularism, as a concept and as an idea, naturally is opposed to establishment. It's anti-establishment, and those sentiments come to bear. So when you're a populist, right, what does that mean? When you're a populist, you are against the political elite because you're representing the will of the common people. The second characteristic is charismatic leadership. I think we already highlighted that in the definition. And here we say many populist movements are led by strong, charismatic leaders who can connect with the common people, right? So the messaging here, students, is very important. The connection here, students, this is connection, is very important. The message has to resonate, right? It has to resonate with the common people, right? With the common people. And that's how the common people rise and oppose the establishment, because they feel motivated, because they know what's at stake, because they know how their interest is important in the grand scheme of things, and so they are motivated to stand against the establishment. But then for that to happen, students, you need a charismatic leader, somebody that can articulate those interests in a way that the common people can understand and in a way that the common people are motivated to take action. So charismatic leadership is very important in this movement. The third is simplified solution, right? What does that mean, students? Simplified solution. Here we're saying is popularism tends to offer straightforward, right? This is straightforward, often oversimplified solutions to complex problems, right? Often oversimplified solutions to complex problems, appealing to the emotions and frustrations of the populace. The populace is the common people, right? Another word for the common people. So they oversimplify problems. They want to make sure that everybody understands what's at stake. They make sure that everybody knows the objective and the goal and those interests that they are fighting for. Very, very important. So there are no complications, there are no intricacies. They just break it down so that everyone understands what's at stake. And when you understand as a populist what's at stake, what happens? You go against the establishment because you believe the establishment is taking full advantage of you as a member of society, and you want to address that in the most effective way. So simplified solutions is very important for people to understand, right? To make those connections. We'll come back to those connections. To make those connections, the awareness. This is awareness. It's very important. When the people are aware, they take action. They take social action to address their situation. So simplified solutions. And finally, nationalism. What does that mean in this context? Many populist movements, right, emphasize national sovereignty and identity, right? Sometimes at the expense of global cooperation. So they emphasize national sovereignty. They want to make sure that their sovereignty is in place, right? They want to make sure that that's in place and also make sure that their identity is not tampered with. Who they are, what they stand for, what they represent, all of those things should be clear, out in the open, and not interfered with, and not tainted, etc. Nationalism, in this case, right, upholding the ideals of the country and ensuring that those ideals are there. Those ideas are not trampled upon, those ideas are not toyed with by the establishment, ensuring that those ideas stand the test of time. So nationalism is very critical in this context. And you achieve these things by having a nationalistic posture, right? The populace having that posture to protect their sovereignty and identity is very, very critical. And that's why nationalism is part of the mix here. When you have those nationalistic instincts and ideology and so forth, you're able to protect your interest. You're able to fight against the elite. You're able to say, we own the country by the power of the ballot, and we make the decisions here, not the elite. And you can take control of the narrative. You can take control of resources. That is political populism, right? So let's take a look at this one more time. So political populism, it's a political approach, right? A political approach that seeks to represent the interest, one, and concerns, two, of the ordinary people, three. Please take note of these points again. Concerns, interest. Concerns and interest, the same thing, right? What serves you the best and so forth, right? And then concerns as to what is not happening in society that you want to see happen. The trend, the direction, and so forth. That becomes a concern, right? So the concerns of ordinary people, often contrasting them against the elite of society, elite of the establishment. It typically involves charismatic leaders. We already highlight that in number 2, right? Or movement that claims to give voice, that's advocacy, we talked about, to the common people, and often emphasizes issues of social justice, that's equity, right? Let's put that here. That's equity, anti-corruption, that's economics, right? Making sure that the people have their resources in place and that those resources are not misused and they are used for their interest and their well-being. And of course, nationalism, right? And then we identify 4 key characteristics. Anti-establishment sentiments, ensuring that those sentiments stay alive, to ensure that they are keeping the establishment in check, to ensure that the establishment is aware of their presence and their need for social justice, their need for anti-corruption measures, and their need to ensure that the society is going in the right direction. Charismatic leadership, we just talked about that, for the messaging, for the connection, for the messaging to resonate and to connect. And that's how you get the buy-in of the population, right? When you have somebody that can articulate, right? So let's put that here, articulate, right? Articulation is very important here. Articulate the interests and needs of the people is very critical. Simplify solutions, making sure that everybody understands what is at stake here, making sure that everybody understands the solution to the problem, and there's no confusion, there's awareness, there's understanding, there's a buy-in. And when you get those things in place, especially the buy-in, you get people as part of the movement. You have populists that go out there and advocate for their interests. And of course, the final piece here is nationalism, as we just discussed, ensuring that sovereignty and identity are in place, because when those things are in place, you have the agency to protect your interest. Although that may be sometimes at the expense of global cooperation, because you're excluding others, because you are so engrossed in the nationalistic sentiments that you exclude others in the process. And that might impact trade, it might impact foreign policy, it might impact your alliances and your partnership with other countries, etc. So it's important to tread carefully here. But nationalism is part of the equation. when we talk about political populism. So this is political populism. Understanding this is key to understanding how governance works, understanding how the different interests in a society impact governance, and the interaction between the government, the elites in some cases, and the common people, and how all of that plays out in real life.